This episode is brought to you by Updater, the app that gets residents move-in ready faster. Did you know that residents who are happy at their move-in experience are 59% more likely to renew their lease? Move-ins matter. So get them right with Updater. Visit go.updater.com/Mike to learn more and receive a special gift when you book a demo. Welcome to Collective Conversations. I am your host, Mike Brewer, and today I am joined by the one and only Savannah Wheeler. Savannah is a seasoned multifamily professional and currently holds the position of CEO at Apartment Snapshot. Savannah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here, and I'm happy that you and I shared. Well, we didn't share time in San Francisco, but I know we talked before we hit the record button that we did spend some time in San Francisco, and it's such a lovely place to live.
Yes, it is. It's very fun and exciting. Lots of stuff going on every day.
Definitely. Very true. But now you live in Colorado, which is equally, if not more exciting for different reasons, probably.
Yeah. Well, I think it shares a lot. I think what I loved about San Francisco is I could have a city life, but it was only a very short drive where I could be in the woods or the mountains or the outdoors and experience that. I feel like it's the same here in Denver. I live in the city of Denver. It's very city life. There's a lot of, culture and events going on, concerts, sporting events, that sort of thing. But it's a very short drive to get to a lake or a mountain or go hiking or whatnot. And I love being outdoors. So it's a similar experience for me, but just not as expensive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Although getting there. Yeah.
You just wait around a little bit and it'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Denver. In fact, the senior vice president of our marketing department here at Radco Residential actually lives in Denver as well, Travis Block. So we'll give a shout out to him here on the podcast.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Radco's a remote work organization, and so he and another one of our marketing team members actually lives there in Denver. So I hear about Denver a lot.
Yeah, well, it's a great place to live. I actually was skeptical moving here. I moved here for work, I was like, I don't know, winter after living in San Francisco. I was like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to jump back into that because I grew up in New England, and New England winters are horrible.
Oh.
And so I had a little PTSD over winter, but actually living here and the amount of sunshine we get is just, it's fantastic. Doesn't matter what season it is. It's beautiful here.
Truly is. I believe that 100%. Well, before we really dive in, I always kind of sort of try to traditionally start with having my guests sort of unpack their multifamily career and sort of a thumbnail sketch version of it. But do you want to walk us through yours?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got into real estate when I was 18, actually. I was in college. I got my real estate license at 18. I studied and took the test. I worked I did it with a friend of mine. Her mom was a broker and sold homes, and she needed help at her brokerage. So I went through the courses with her, and I worked there for a little bit, just doing some stuff here or there. And then when I was in college, I was going for business finance, and they had several real estate courses available, and it was only 4 credits or 1 course shy of being able to be considered a minor. And I actually petitioned the school to add 1 more course in real estate so that they could consider it a minor and put it on my degree. And they only had 1 adjunct professor that taught all of the real estate courses. And if he added one more course to his course load, he would be considered a full-time professor. So they denied me the ability to add it as a minor on my degree, which I was very disappointed in. However, I did an internship at a couple of different real estate firms. One was actually a startup firm, and they hired a bunch of interns because they didn't want to pay for staff to get their brokerage up and running. They did commercial real estate sales, but they also did commercial real estate management and property management. And so they were starting up their firm, and almost their entire workforce was interns. So uh,
Oh,
we
wow.
we just kind of we just kind of rolled with it and, made it happen. And, my startup journey, it began. And we had to wear multiple hats and learn about the business and figure that out. And I actually answered phone calls from tenants. That was part of my job. I had to do
Oh,
the tenant phone calls. So that was very
the best
exciting.
part.
Lots of stuff going on there. Not quite as exciting as multifamily, but it was very interesting to answer those phone calls and deal with those problems. Um, but then I worked I took a hiatus from real estate for a little while and worked in banking, and I determined that just wasn't for me. I mean, I did a good job, I think, because I was offered a promotion and I quit right there in that office that same day. I was like,
I'll tell you what, no,
yeah,
check,
the
I'm
regional
leaving.
manager came in and said, you work really hard. We love you here. You're great with our clients. We want to promote you. And my whole life flashed before my eyes of what would happen if I became a banker. And I was like, no, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry. I quit. I'll give you 2 weeks or a month or whatever you need, but I am done here. And I went back to real estate and I worked in on the investment side in multifamily for a while. And then the company I worked for um, was starting a property management company. So they moved me here to Denver to start the property management company. I was I was technically employee 11 because I stayed on the benefits of the sister company for so long. But
Oh,
I was one of the first employees, and we said, I reminisce about the times where like it was just a handful of us around a conference table, trying to make it work and figuring out like who ordered company phones, who, did anybody register in the state of Utah? Like, all of those fun things that you legit have to sit around a table and campfire about everything every single day to get it up and running. But it was fun. And I've been in property management ever since. So in finance and technology and accounting and all of the back office functions. I have never worked on site, but I I'm quite honestly obsessed with trying to figure out the experience without having worked there. I, being in having only worked in back office functions, I've made it my mission to educate my teams about the site teams and what they do for our company, and how difficult their job is and how important their job is to provide. I had a boss once that used to say, we run a small city, right?
yes.
We provide homes for enough people to be considered a small city, and those people's livelihood, their everyday, their birthdays, their celebrations, their hardships, everything that they experience is in our hands, and we take care of it. So even though I've never worked on site, it's been my obsession to figure out how to understand what it must take for those people on site to do their job every day. And now, just, in the last year or so, I've been on the vendor side, which is new for me. So I moved over in October of last year, 22. So not quite a year yet, but coming up here soon to as the CEO of Apartment Snapshot, and this is my first vendor experience. But I like to think that it's kind of kismet, that everything I've done up to this point has led me to working at this company and providing hopefully a useful and important tool in our industry. So yeah, that's my journey. That's my origin story, so to say.
I love that. I have to ask you, you used a word there that I didn't recognize. Kismet? Is that what you said?
Oh yeah, it's like I don't know what the origin of that word is, and hopefully it's not one of those things that comes from an inappropriate place and I'm just spitting it out. But it's like meant to be, right?
Ah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a very curious person, so when I hear something that I don't know, I like have to ask. So I'm gonna look it up after
Yeah.
this. Um, so as you were unpacking your origin story, I do have a recommendation. I'm going to give a plug here. I just interviewed Jason Kay, who wrote a book called I think it's called the Rainforest Culture something. I'll send you an email after this.
Yeah.
And I apologize to Jason that I can't remember the title tip of tongue, but it is a book literally about on-site property management. And it's like this property manager's whole journey through turning a property around. And it describes everything in grand detail. And I grew
Oh,
up working on site. So uh, it would give you a real window into what it's like to be on site. So
yes,
uh,
absolutely.
yeah, I'll send you the link to that. Okay, so you went into business with Apartment Snapshot October 2022 as the CEO. So unpack what Apartment Snapshot is and what it does for the industry.
Yeah, so we are a mobile first platform. We have a mobile app that's also available on a browser too. And it's and to back up a little bit to transition the kismet, so to say,
Mhm.
I having a background in finance and having worked in finance, I've run the budget season and the I'm one of those analyst types that just loves data. It geeks out on data and I love to slice and dice it and see it. But I'm not naive to the fact that I have very little control from my seat on how to move those numbers, right? And
Mm.
the people who can move those numbers are the on-site teams. They're the ones who are driving the performance of our assets. And I'm super cheesy, by the way. I just, all the cheese. I just love it. And everyone who's worked with me knows that I am all about the dad jokes, even though I'm a mom. And it's just, I'm all about that. So I have always been driving and striving to make data fun, right? To make it fun for everybody else. For me, it's just naturally fun. I just love it. I watch the story unfold. I look at things and I just love it. And not everybody does. And so,
Mhm.
how can I make this something that's easy for people to pick up? It's easy for people to understand and they get excited by it. They think it's fun. And when you have spreadsheets or even like pie charts or charts and graphs and all of these BI tools that we invest so much money and time building,
Mhm.
and then we have to bribe our team members to look at it, right?
That's a good way to put that.
Yeah. And when they do look at it, it's only because they're supposed to. It's not because they want to. And at Apartment Snapshot, the reason why it's such a great fit for me is because we are providing a tool that gets teams excited about logging in, looking at their data. We associate points to it so they can feel like they're achieving something and they're growing in the ranks. We take those KPIs, we group them in categories, we assign points, and then we put them on leaderboards so they can see the whole company on a leaderboard, or they can zoom in and say, actually, I just watched your podcast with Tyler at Funnel, and I love how he said, let's double click on that. Like, I just love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So you can double
That
click in and you can look at just one category to see which properties are performing in maintenance KPIs, which properties are performing in leasing KPIs, and really take a more granular look at that. Um, and we have, personal awards that they can have a trophy room and they can say, I've achieved something. So I've achieved my team has achieved top property. I got a badge for that. Or whatever the company wants to award for. So even if it's a loyalty badge, you've been with the company for 5 years, congratulations, you got a badge, you know. So we have those components. And then we also have the asset performance, right? So we draw them in with the team performance to say, how am I doing, right? Which like where am I on the leaderboard and how many points do I have? What's my score? And then we also have the asset performance. So as a property manager, if an investor stops by, which they do on occasion with limited
Interesting.
notice, and then they show up with a lot of questions as to the asset performance, what's your economic occupancy, physical occupancy, what's your exposure right now, all of these questions that you just don't have on the top of your head. But
Sure.
we have that available in the app as well. So instead of going back to the office to print out your box score summary report, you can just pull it up on your phone and you can answer all those questions right there for them. So it also gives them a useful tool to be able to feel knowledgeable and take ownership of that data and have it at the tips of their fingers without having to commit it to memory every day. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing. We have a ton of admin reports too that help for executives or asset managers. For instance, we just released our heat map report, which has been super popular. And we take all of the properties across all of the categories that you're ranking performance in. And the categories are the columns, the properties are the rows, and it will color code them based on their scores. So yellow, so it will be stoplight signals. So red, yellow, or
Sure.
green across the board. And if you see all of this green and then a couple of reds, you know exactly who and where you need to pay attention to
Hmm.
drive the performance and increase their performance as a property or a team.
Is it fair to describe that as a kind of a management by exception philosophy, meaning the red, green, yellow light? It's like let the platform do all of the work for you in
Mhm.
terms of discerning what you need to pay attention to, and then just go focus on that stuff you need to pay attention to. And not that you ignore the rest, but you kind of
Yeah.
do ignore the rest because those are the things you need to move right now.
Well, yeah, I've always been a huge like I love technology and I love automation, and I've always been a huge fan of saying let technology do the doing and let people do the thinking, right?
I
So
like
if
that.
if
Yeah,
you can implement technology that will do for you, then you can take that information that is outputted from that technology and then you can provide the cognitive analysis of that. You can understand, like, you can dive deeper if you want to, but you can slowly understand where you need to focus. You don't have to focus on everything all the time, right?
that's right.
Especially in our industry where we run lean teams and we have lean profits and we have high turnover, and there's not always the same people looking at the same things in the same way every single time. And there's not the time or resources to look at everything all the time. We can't be micromanagers. We have to understand exactly where my attention will benefit the most. Where's the ROI on my attention, right? Like, where
That's
can
right.
I focus and get the highest ROI from that?
Do you find that the tool, um, I'm just going to describe a scenario in our own organization, and and it plays off of the point that you made about people looking at different things at different times differently. um, do you find that your platform actually brings people together in terms of a um, shared vocabulary and a shared way of speaking about things and a shared way of getting narrow about the things that you pay attention to?
Yeah, I do. I think that especially when not only do we tend to have a high turnover of people, but we also tend to
Mhm.
have a high turnover of tech, right? Because
True.
technology doesn't always work for us, or we're not using it, or there's a multitude of reasons why there's a new shiny toy and it works better than the one that we have. And so we're going to try that instead. And then there's, a common issue that I've heard a lot is just we have too many logins, we have too many systems, we have too many places to go to understand how we're performing, right? Like log into this system, log into that system, pull this report, get this report out of email, right? And whether our system is bringing it all into one. So whether it's a report that someone on your team, an analyst of sorts, or the marketing department, or your executive assistant who pulls together a compliance report or something like that, it could be an Excel sheet that gets sent out monthly or weekly or daily or whatever that they have to look at. Or it could be a report from RealPage or Yardi or Knock or any of the systems that are in our space that could be used. You have to train your brain for each system, how it works, what the data means, what I'm looking at, what buttons I have to press to run that report, and so to hold all of that information for every single system is tough. And you have a different department that's in charge of it, right? And every department thinks their report is the most important, right?
No, that never happens.
And it's like, so they might be using different words too. If you're talking to, a marketing person, they might be talking about these marketing terms that you have to understand. If you're talking to HR, they're talking about HR terms that you have to understand. And so I think having everything in one system where we're really narrowing it down to what's important, right? Of all of the different data points, what does my company feel is most important, right? Even when it comes to this KPI is worth 10 points, this KPI is worth 30 points. So I know that my company is valuing this KPI more than that KPI. And I know that performing on this one is going to impact my overall performance. Not performing there is going to impact my overall performance way stronger than not performing here, right? And so being able to across the board from all different departments that you might need to deal with on a day-to-day, all different systems that you might need to extract every day, getting it all on one page. So every department you talk to, it's pull up snapshot, let's talk about it, right? And then it's one discussion across many different people instead of a different conversation for every person you talk to.
Listen, that is music to my ears. I was listening to a podcast earlier today, coming back from lunch, right prior to getting on with you. And Mary Gwynn, I think she's the chief innovation officer at Apartment Dynamics. She had recently polled her team, and they had 40 different systems that they had to log into over the course of a given property management month, right? 40 different systems to govern their operation. I thought, oh my,
that's a
it made
lot.
me, to your point about having to learn the vocabulary for all of those different things and the little nuances about all of those pieces of technology, it is a lot. And to think that there is one place where you can curate all of that information and then turn it into meaningful, actionable kind of KPIs or data points, that's a thrilling prospect.
Yeah. And, honestly, it works. Like, we have several anecdotes that I could go through, and I won't go through them all, but, our quarterly adoption number. So if you look at 3-month trend is 46% of the company, right? 46% of the employees are logging into the system. And of the 46%, 42% of that is on-site team members. So they're logging in and they're holding the company accountable to data integrity as well. Because they're being held accountable to their performance, and they're logging in, they're checking the numbers, and they understand there's a transparency factor. They understand, and they no, like this number is not right. Like there's no way this number is correct, right? And so
I
we've been
love
able to dial in and work with other vendors to say, hey, what's going on with the data here? And understand some breakdowns in some of those data points and clean that up with our clients, because the site teams know the data better than anybody. They know how
that's
they're,
right.
in their gut, they know, like, my lead response time is better than this. I know for a fact. I know I pick up the phone, I get back to those leads. This can't be right. And so we look into it. Sure enough, there's a problem and we can resolve that. Which, how long has that problem existed? Nobody knows, right? But
Right.
also we have is an increasingly more and more, but the maintenance teams are specifically so excited about our platform, and they're logging in every single day because they have never had tools that have translated how they're
Sure.
performing without, most maintenance teams, like, they're some companies have a computer in the maintenance shop that they
Right.
can log
Right.
on to order their, HD supply orders or, whatnot. They have a shared email that they can get emails, but do they read them? Probably not.
No.
And
No.
depending on the company, there's not a lot of, ways for the teams to know how they're performing until a conversation happens with somebody else, right? Hey,
That's right.
you're not performing, or hey, you're doing a good job, but there's very little context surrounding that. We've had maintenance team members that are logging in every single day, and a lot of maintenance supervisors will log in and their techs maybe are um, not as tech savvy, right? They're just still got a flip phone. They don't have the app on their phone. They're not going to be logging in, but they're still getting their service techs to get excited about it by pulling it up every day. We've actually just recently had a request from a service manager that said, hey, can I print out these um,
Oh,
scorecards because I
yeah.
want my team to look at them, but they don't have a smartphone, right? They're not going to log in, but they're excited to see what their unit turn time is, like what
Yeah.
their KPIs look like. And they're like, why is this other property doing it so much faster than we are? What's what's happening?
Yeah.
Why,
What did
why can't we catch up to them? Do they have more staff, or they're just superhuman, or what is the deal over there? And to be able to have that conversation and reach out to your sister property, like that property is just down the street. I'm going to go talk to that other service manager
Yeah.
and see what kind of tips I can get on how to get this done faster.
I
So,
just
yeah.
absolutely love that. I The gamification piece of this platform is just, to your point about people being engaged in things that let's call it otherwise mundane. And I know you have a love affair with it, but not everybody has a love affair with data. But gamifying things, you all of a sudden you fall in love with the game, right? And that's what causes the behavior change in the individual who's participating with it. And then all of a sudden it gets imbued in here. It's
Hmm.
interesting now because, like fantasy football, I'm checking it all the time just to make sure I'm
Yeah,
doing well.
exactly.
I,
Exactly.
I have to, I'm curious. You're sitting around one day and you're thinking about data. What was the aha moment that I'm going to blend gamification with data analytics? What was that like? Where were you at? Were you sitting in a coffee shop and you went, "Oh, that's cool. I'm doing that."
Well, I can't speak to that because I'm not actually the founder of Apartment Snapshot. I
Okay.
was hired as the CEO, but I will say that I have been thinking about this for a long time, right?
Okay.
I, when I worked at Mission Rock, I was doing the same thing, right? How can we get the teams excited about this? And I had all of these ideas of, like, let's implement Tableau. Let's get things like, Tableau had like a mobile thing that we could give, but it wasn't super mobile friendly. I was talking about let's put it on TVs
Yeah.
in the office. Like, can we
Right.
put the
Right.
data up there? And I'm like, can we benchmark them against their sister properties? Where are they against their properties? Like, these are all conversations that I've had with my team. Like, how do we do this? Like, my data team was like, you're nuts. Like, like I would talk about this every day. I'm like, there's got to be a way. It's funny you bring up fantasy football because it has been like something that I've talked about. I'm like, how do we have fantasy property league? Like, how can we make that
Oh,
thing?
that is
Like,
so good.
all of the properties are benchmarked on the same types of KPIs, right? Like you have your leasing KPIs, your occupancy, your renewals, you have your maintenance KPIs. Like we could do this. And I talked to my team about it, like, and constantly, always, like, how can we add this fun gaming component to our data and get the teams excited about it? Because it's like I sound like a broken record to all of them, I know, but it's like I would tell them, we are not the ones who move the needle. We are just the
That's right.
ones who report where the needle is, right? And how can we partner with the people who do move the needle to get them excited about moving the needle, right? Like that's our
Yeah.
role that we can play. So when I was approached with this opportunity to be part of Apartment Snapshot, it was really like, this is what I've been trying to do, right? Like, this is what I need to do, right? This is my mission in life.
This is
So
a, this is
it
it's like the
really,
opposite of that banking moment, right? Where
it
you're
was
like, and
wait, yeah, complete opposite.
so sorry, I cut you off. You were about to say something else.
No, I was just going to circle back to the like meant to be moment, like when I was approached by it, I was like, man, you're talking my language. Like, this is exactly what I've been trying to do. So, yes, of course, I will join this. I will make this happen. And, it's been everything I thought it would be in the last almost year. So I'm excited to see where it goes and where we bring this. I've got lots of
Oh,
ideas. So, you know,
leasing teams can spend more than 6 hours every week sending welcome letters, following up, collecting documents, and yet residents still show up on move in day unprepared. Move in day sets the tone for the entire relationship with that resident. Getting it right matters. According to Kingsley, residents happy with their move in experience are 59% more likely to renew their lease. Move ins matter. Jenna Miller, the Senior Director of Marketing and Customer Experience at Bozzuto, says Updater has been instrumental in helping them remove friction from the move in process. They rely on Updater to save leasing teams valuable time and create a consistent and branded move in experience across the entire portfolio. To see Updater in action, visit go.updater.com/Mike. As a thank you to my listeners, Updater is offering a special gift when you book a demo. Move ins matter. Get them right with Updater. That's go.updater.com/Mike. When you find that thing that marries up with the passion you have in the world, it's like, and then, oh, and by the way, I get paid for it. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's,
yeah.
that's very, uh, I'm, I'm interested, because what instantly comes to mind for me is, and you said this, or you made this phrase earlier, BI, right? Could you consider this a BI tool, or is this something that layers over the top and becomes a user interface, or kind of help me understand how that kind of
Well,
I guess the differentiation between those two kinds of
yeah,
products.
absolutely. I'm glad you asked because a lot of people do compare us to BI.
That
And
was my initial thought.
yeah, but our thought, we're really meant to complement your analytics program. We don't
Okay.
have the ability to, dynamically create complex reporting or slice and dice the data. We do have reporting available in our admin console, but it's not intended to be like a full blown BI system.
Understood.
But if you have a BI system that your asset managers and your analysts and your corporate people are logging in and having fun with it and slicing and dicing and reporting to investors and reporting to CEO or the C-suite or executives or whatever, and all of that, you show up to a C-suite meeting or an executive meeting and you're looking through all these reports and with people who are trained to look at these reports. You still have a hard time like getting a CEO to log into your BI system. Probably is not
So
going to
true.
happen. But if you send them the reports, they will digest them, right?
That's
Um,
right. That's
and
right.
look at them and ask questions about them, and things will stick out that concern them and they will want to dive deeper. But if you send those, if you're sending these same reports that you would send to your CEO or to you like a COO or to anyone at that level, you're sending those same reports to the sites and expecting them to digest them in the same way, it's not
That's
going to
good.
happen, right? And so we are taking the same data that you would report in your BI tool to, from your analysts to your executives and translating it in a way, speaking a language that is understandable to the sites.
Right.
And that way you can be looking at two different projections of the same data but being on the same page, right? Um,
Yeah.
we do have some clients that don't have a BI program and are choosing to explore our option first as their first stop, which is how we've developed some of the more executive reporting out of our admin dashboard, because they are available for people who don't have a BI tool or are not producing those executive reports. But a lot of our reporting, we have a heat map report and we do, the Monday report, the weekly ops report. We have
The
a version
famous.
of that. Yeah. And we have the property scorecards, and we have some other reporting, a watch list report that takes all of the asset performance and you can add watch list flags to that. So we have executive reports available for some people, some companies who are choosing not to invest in the BI route. But we are not intended to be a BI platform, just a complement, the ability to get your site teams excited about that same data you're looking at through the BI platform.
Thank you for separating those two, because instantly I was thinking, precisely what I think most other people would think, but I can see the clear dichotomy there. And I can't help but you're speaking about analysts and tying back to fantasy football, and not to get way off track here, but I was just having this vision of like analysts sitting around a conference room table, and we have you know, we have your platform up and you can see the top ranked players in your property management company, top ranked properties. And then all of a sudden there becomes this sort of like draft season where somebody's trying to pick off a property manager based on data. And like, then my mind went like, oh my gosh, if you had the entire country's worth of apartments on this
Right?
platform, and you open that up and like everybody's trying to pick off the top players across the country. Oh my
It
god.
would be so fun though.
Oh my gosh, yeah. To your point about creating leagues, it would be like leagues across property management companies
Yeah.
across the country. Oh my goodness. And then we have a Super Bowl, and then
Yeah.
all of a
Someday
sudden
I'll
all
make it happen, Mike. Someday I am going to make this happen.
I love it. I'm signing up. Or I'm going to be a fan on the sidelines. I'll probably be too old at that point, but I'll be a fan watching them on the side. Well, talk to me about, I always like to like look around the corner, and I imagine as a technology company, as a data company, you're sort of thinking about things that are making plays in the space as it relates to technology, be it AI or generative AI or any of these kinds of technologies. How is that playing into your thinking about advancements you would make in the platform?
Yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit actually. And the most immediate, the low hanging fruit, so to say, is for our reporting to generate AI insights from the data that we have. So we're working on, because we're consolidating all of the data from multiple different systems into one spot, we can make we can generate AI insights based off of that data. And as time goes on, we can train that AI to say, to make predictions based on user interacted behavior. So for instance, if we incorporate tags of some sort to an asset, like we do with the watch list, if you mark a property as a watch list property on the watch list, it's a manual function that you can go in and you put a note as to why you think this is a watch list property. And then
Mm-hmm.
it maintains that history. And then we can teach the AI to look back at the last 12 months, 6 months, 3 months, and identify what trends were happening over the historical that led to those flags, and then do that for every time you have a flag, and say, then be able to start predicting, hey, this property is not, maybe you're not deeming it a watch list property yet, but you should take a look at it because it's displaying the same activities or trends that other properties that you've marked watch list have in the past, right? So we haven't gotten far enough down the road to implement any of this yet, but these are some of the discussions we're having on how do we incorporate AI, since we do have the unique ability to look at the holistic picture of the assets for a particular company. And we have the ability to have those in, maybe there's other functions like that where human interaction plays on, this is a watch list property, or maybe it's a list, a similar list that an asset manager might say, these properties I want to evaluate for sale, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
you could do something similar to say that the humans are deciding a certain factor, right? But the AI can look at it and say, what trends do these properties that are marked for, like, evaluate for sale, do they have in common? And then can we say, hey, do you want to evaluate these other properties who have similar
Oh,
attributes, right? And
right.
can kind of guide predictive analytics through the AI platform. Also, to generate, we're playing around with a reporting structure to figure out how we can have a report, a digestible report that people will actually read, and playing around with different formats like slides or carousels, or kind of like if you go on Instagram or something like that and you have the stories and
Yeah.
they flip through, that we can use AI to extract, hey, your month over month, like, here's your monthly story, your month over month rent has increased by this percent this month, and just like fun but informative facts that could be added into a reporting structure like that. That's it's more engaging to look at with
Yeah.
graphics and stuff, but the AI is determining based on the interactivity, like how long they watch it, if they close it out, if they interact with it, what's happening when they get that report, to learn people are most responsive to as far as looking at a report, reading a report, and interacting with that report.
And then my imagination tells me, based on that behavioral data, you're tweaking. If you have an end goal, you can take that behavioral data and tweak the presentation graphically or whatever it is to make it even more engaging so that you get an ultimate outcome.
Yeah.
My mind is blown right now. I'm just, it's like going at 1,000 miles an hour. I love this concept of in taking a look back to find data to do predictive analytics. And then my imagination tells me that it's that helps a person, to use your phrase of the technology doing the work and the human thinking. Hey, heads up, you're about to go off the rails. And by
Yeah.
the way, these are the things you need to pay attention to. Now go think about those things and put your strategies and your tactics in place to get the thing to not let it go off the rails.
Yeah, exactly.
I just love that. That's
Yeah. Well, because like think about it, like anybody in our industry, whether you're on site or not, like even in corporate, we've got literally 1,000 emails coming in every single day. We've got,
it.
phone calls, text messages. We've got meetings, so many meetings, back to back meetings. And then we're checking our emails either in between or before or after work. And we've got a million things we have to think about at all times. Like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And it's impossible to know where, like with the limited amount of attention that you have in one day, where you can spend that to get, like I said, to get the ROI from the
That's
limited
right.
amount of attention that you have. And if you can have something in front of you that says, hey, you should be paying attention to this, like
Right.
this property is going to be distressed in 2 months. What can you do
Right.
about it now? Right.
That's right. The value is right there. And it's, I imagine you're probably more adept and aware of this than I am because I don't play in the analytics every day. I certainly look at data like you implied just a second ago. But it it's like all of this stuff has been there forever. But now the difference now is that you have these technologies that you can connect all these dots and put it all together, bring it together in one place like this platform, curate it all, put the math to it, the algorithms to it, whatever data science people do. We love data science. And just I have this. I'm getting to a punchline here, and taking a long way to do it, or a long time to do it. But I've been under the impression that if we can get site team members back to a place where they can actually look people in the eyes and have relationship and not act in the way of transactions, or move-ins, move-outs, and all these sort of transactions that happen on a daily basis. If you get them back, free up all their time to just have relationship, look each other in the eyes, have conversations like this one. There's much more value in that than there is in spending all your time digging through Yardi reports or Intrada reports or Resume report. I'm trying to think of all the property management systems so I can give them all shout outs, but it's like, if you can save all that time and give it back to the site team members, my imagination tells me it'll show up in the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the
Yeah.
consumer experience, the team member experience is going to be enriched and enhanced by giving the time back.
Yeah,
And platforms like this
absolutely.
do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been one of my messages too, is like why, their job should not be at the computer, right? They shouldn't be sitting at the
Exactly right.
computer all day. They should be walking around, like you don't see. I used to work at a Sheridan, right? And when I was in college, I worked at a large Sheridan, and I worked there because I was able to give them my school schedule and they were able to plug me in to whatever shift doing any job that they could. I literally was like, give me any job, I will do it, like whatever you need me to do, as long as it doesn't happen while I'm in class, I will do it. And I never, the GM of our hotel was never in his office. He was always walking around the
Right.
hotel, always checking out what, like the restaurant, the bar, the housekeeping. Like he was always walking around, always checking in on people, always seeing, what do you need from me? Greeting guests, asking guests about their stay. How was their stay? He would hang out in the lobby, and as people were checking out, he would hold the door open. How was your stay? And that always inspired me. I don't know if all hotel GMs do that, but it always inspired me that he was so involved in and so invested in his responsibility to his guests. Like that's, and his employees, right? he
Yeah.
he would understand what was going on the property every day. And I feel like that's when we hire a rock star property manager, community manager, what you call them, Um, it's because they have that hospitality. They have that presence where they're taking care of their employees, they're taking care of their residents, they're providing an experience to the people who live there. And
That's right.
that is not the same person who is going to sit in front of a computer all day and invest the time in looking at this report, looking at that report, pulling from this, checking that, pulling up this Excel and doing all of that stuff. It's a person who gets energized by talking to people, by being around people, by helping people, by creating the stories that are so magical on site, like so and so's kid is starting kindergarten this week,
Yes.
and that's a special moment for them. That's their first and only child starting kindergarten, and I want to make that special for them. Those types of stories that happen on site, that's what should be driving our teams and making the experience that you need to, especially in an economy like we're in, where you know
That's right.
it's about the experience. People are not just going to pay more rent because the apartment's available at that rent, right? They're going to pay more rent because it's a different experience than wherever they're at now, or the property next door that they toured. That's what's going to drive rent at this point, not just inflation or the economy or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think you're so right about that. And I think that plays into someone sticking around and renewing their lease over and over. It's because of that experience. And I think implied in all of that is traditionally we have found great people, we've put them on site, and then we've given them every reason to nest in their office because we tether them to producing reports and pushing out information. And we take away everything that brings them to life and creates the opportunity for those experiences that ultimately play through to the data, right?
Yeah. Well, I also think it plays into the experience of the employee too, because if
100%.
you are around, if you're a square peg and you're trying to fit into a round hole, right? And you're doing
Mm-hmm.
that every single day. Like, I don't know, it's like there are always aspects of everyone's job that this is not my strong suit and I do it
Sure.
anyway, right? But
Sure.
when, like when you were saying, like when I when I was in banking and I knew like this isn't me. Like it's too
Mm-hmm.
corporate. I'm not that stuffy person. I'm not that, like customer service and professionalism, great. But like being that specific banking, like very structured, very rigid, very corporate, just like I was a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. And they're like, you're doing a great job fitting into this round hole. We want to promote you to be even rounder. And I'm like, no, it's not for me. I'm not happy every day when I show up at work. It's not, it's not my superpowers, right? I feel
Right.
like I'm
Right.
working outside of my natural parameters. And if you have a job that you love and you feel like you're able to express your superpower every single day, and if your superpower is creating those experiences and talking to people and making people feel comfortable and happy and safe, and you have that hospitable nature, and that's your superpower, you would have a better experience if you were empowered and provided the opportunity to express that superpower on a day-to-day basis, and then you would stay at your job longer because you are happy to be there and you feel like you can be your authentic self there. You don't have to try and be a data genius or get do all of this analytics stuff that isn't your comfort zone every day. You're able to do your superpower, which is make people feel like home, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I am off the charts inspired right now. Seriously, that is like a home run speech. I love it.
I guess I drank enough of my energy drink today.
Whatever that is, give it a big shout out because that was amazing. I seriously, I don't know how to better end cap an episode than what you just said, and I you're so right. It's if you give people the space to be themselves, be them authentic self, and serve in the way that they are meant to serve, that just is a win for everyone. It's a win for them. It's a win for the team members. Win for the residents, even the vendor partners that you work with. You know, everything is impacted by one's kind of true self and authenticity. So, Savannah, you blew it out of the park there. So good, so good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, as we wrap here, I have to give you the opportunity to tell people where they can learn more about the platform. They can certainly reach out to you directly, get some more of that inspiration that you can pour into them. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You can look me up, and I'm trying to be more active on LinkedIn and interact with the conversations and stuff like that. Historically, I've been the back office person, so haven't been as involved, but trying to get out there. So follow me and chat with me. My email is savannah@apartmentsnapshot.com. So happy to take any emails. And our website is apartmentsnapshot.com. We are also on LinkedIn or many other places. I try to post fun TikTok videos, but I'm new to TikTok, so you know, any tips are welcome. So yeah, I think between our website, my email, LinkedIn, those are the primary places to get in touch.
Awesome. Well, we will link all of that stuff up in our show notes that we send out when we send the episode out. Savannah, it has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you over the last hour. You're a total delight, and I'm
Thank
excited
you.
about I'm excited about the way you're thinking about the business, the way your company's thinking about the business, and I can't wait to see what evolves over the coming months and years and decades. It should be
Yeah,
pretty
thanks,
fascinating.
Mike. I'm so happy. Thanks for having me on that episode. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. For everyone else, we will see you next time on Collective Conversations.